Hello, welcome to the artclasses.com. This video tutorial is going to be part of the new lesson or tutorial that I'm making a series of. It's going to be light and shadow and color theory. A lot of you requesting for a color theory. I'm finally going to make it. It just gotta come before light and shadow, because I think light and shadow is probably the most fundamental, and it's really important to build your foundation using light and shadow. And this is the first of the tutorial that will make you understand shading from its basic form of this geometry, and why are we using this geometry as base, the core of shading. And a lot of you are probably like, well, this is pretty boring and you always have to face this, and you probably want to do something a little more exciting, like illustration. But without these, I'm gonna tell you why you will need this, and this will be very useful for you when you are doing the actual work and to solve your light and shadow problem in your own illustration. With reference, you are fine, but when you have to come up with something without reference, this will be your best friend. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how to use this form and apply it to your illustration, and how does it really work. If you're either beginner or intermediate, this video will probably be useful to you, and it probably will change your mind about practicing with this object. Because sometimes I would just look at this object and I will practice it, like if I go to Lightroom and it has like sit there and be like, oh, this is fun. And it's related, it's all related. This object, believe it or not, is related to your shading on the human anatomy and work on your illustration. And so I'm just gonna explain this really quick, and you have to do it. All these forms are really useful, like the cylinder, the sphere, the cube, and the I already said the cone. Yeah, I just said the cylinder. Okay, cone, cylinder, sphere, and the cube. There should be one more, the pyramid. And the pyramid is like the combination of the cube and the cone, but it's slightly different because it reacts to light differently. So you might want to get that onto your set. And basically, this is what I got off from the internet. When you shade, you probably, a lot of time if you're beginner, you probably think the back end will be darker than as it go up, but it's not actually like that. This is where the highlight would be. This is gradient, go all the way. When it's almost hit the end, you're gonna hit the core shadow, which is the darkest part of the sphere. And that at the edge of the sphere, that's gonna be a bounce light. And the bounce light, it depends on what color of the surface it's sitting on. It's gonna reflect that color, and it's gonna also have the cast shadow. And I'm not going to show you or instruct you how to make all this, because there's probably a bunch of video on YouTube already. A lot of people probably explain that a lot better than I am, and I'm just gonna guide you to that. So let's go to this dude. Just click on here. I have the link over here already. Concept Cookie. He has this video that I just watched yesterday, and it was pretty good because I was looking for the material to make the series of shading, and I think he can probably do the job better than I am in explaining all these things. And he already have image for you to download, and look at him. He look friendly, so I think he should explain the word to you. I already listened to it. It's a pretty good tutorial, so just go there. And yeah, now I'm gonna talk more about how to apply the geometry to the actual illustration, and how to utilize those geometry into the shape that you want to manipulate, things like that. But first of all, thanks Concept Cookie guy, and you are awesome. All right, so let's say this is one of my old work, and I'm just gonna zoom this in. Yeah. So if you look at my somewhat palette here, you will probably wonder why I have all this gray layout. Is because of light and shadow, and this is the easiest way for me to pick a certain exact value that I want. You probably don't want 10 of them. You can probably skip each one of them, so you can have 5, and that's pretty important for value. And the reason I have all this is because I used to paint oil before I came to digital, but I haven't done it in years. And yeah, that's why I have it set up like this, because I'm used to it and I have certain palette. And if you look at Anders Zorn, he has like his palette's really limited, but his work is really amazing. So okay, that's enough babbling. I'm just gonna show you how this geometry really work on this. Like if you can see this, lighting is coming from that way, right? And the geometry work, if you use it down, I didn't have any reference when I make this, because of course there will be no people that look like snake. So I'm just using, this is pretty much like a squeeze cylinder, right? So basically you're gonna have to know how to paint a cylinder, and you see how it twists. So it's not an actual cylinder, so it's a cylinder that was squeezed into flat. You can't see that, but if you have a cylinder and you put a heavy object on top, and it's gonna flatten like this. So when it twists around, and then it became, you know, a more of a cylinder later. So that's where it comes in. And then when the light hits, you're gonna probably hit that side, and then it's gradually like what I show you on the sphere. It's probably look the same as under, and it's go all the way lighter, and then it's go to core shadow, and then in the end it has a little bounce light, not a lot, but you see some light here, little bounce light, but it's not that strong. And also on this, her face right here, it's basically spheres and coming down here. So you got this block shadow, and without knowing of, you know, how to shape, so that's her chin basically right there, right? So that's pretty much like a sort of like a cube, and then you have it there. So that's one surface, another one surface. So think of it as a geometry object, and then now you have the sphere. And then as her face is coming down, which is give another one, this light hits, as you can see that the shadow gradually going down, because this is a spheres on top, and this will be the shadow. And still this part will hit, but it still have a little bit of the shadow on the face also. So you got that, and see how that's those geometry become really useful. So that's the shoulder. So this is like a squeeze, like a balloon, sort of like a sphere, and you know it has the shadow, highlight, same thing. And part of it is and all this same thing. This is a cylinder that turns around, and then, you know, shadow coming in and out. Same thing as here, cylinder, and then I have the tree over here, and then the shadow, that's a cast shadow that casts on top of his face. I'm probably gonna repaint his face, because it doesn't look like how I would imagine. So I'm just gonna save here. I'm just gonna close this down, and I'm just gonna explain another one. And if you haven't seen my face instruction, I also explain the change of plane on the portrait, so that should be pretty helpful to you. Go on my channel and look on, let's see, how to draw face shading and planes. Yeah, right there. Or you know what, I'm just gonna have an actual link from here, so you can just click on this and you get there. And one last thing I'm gonna talk want to talk about the arm on that snake lady, then this is here. Just on the shoulder, when you want, those will help you, paint muscle really good. So this is the change of plane that happens. So that's a, surface of how his mass will go, and then when it comes here, it stops, and the direction of the plane change, and that's why you have the end of shadow right there, and then start of the light, because the change of plane happened over there. And then the same as here, change of planes, change. So, but it's not as as abrupt, but you can still see a little change on the value, and basically same as here, change of plane happens. So it's as if you're using a spheres. I'm going to change color. It's as if you're putting a sphere right here, right there. So it's like a big sphere, right? And you have another that came up, and the spheres kind of sink into this mass of a box. So let's say this chest become a box, if that make any sense. So that's a box, and then sphere sink in it. So you have this surface of green. Okay, maybe I should paint the whole thing. This is the green, and it stops here on top of the red, right? And the part that was below, that was invisible, is sinking into this red, and this is the chest, or whatever that comes down. So this is generalization, and then the head be pop on top of it later. But yeah, that's right. So this is the connection of the box and the sphere. And then that's also you might add a cylinder here, which is the sphere kind of cover here, and then this is a part of the arm cylinder. It's not an actual cylinder, but it might be a little, the shape might be a little different. Instead of the whole circle, it might be just, sort of a flatter cylinder like that. So anyway, so now you know how those geometry are pretty useful. And yeah, don't forget to go check out a concept cookie guy and my face tutorial if you haven't seen it. Alright, I hope this tutorial will help you somehow. Leave me the feedback and let me know how is this helpful to you, or what are you confused about. I might be able to help you, I might not. Okay, one last thing. Beware of the shadow. As you can see in this checkerboard, that's only black and white, but this part, let me get the color. This part is in the shadow, right? So you would probably think, well, this white part and that white part, the value probably closer to each other. But let me show you this. I'm just gonna cut this. Oops, that was empty. Cut this and paste. Oh, it's totally super dark. But when I put it here, that value become this value. So beware of the shadow. Don't believe your eyes. Sometimes you gotta really compare the value and evaluate it so that your painting will look correct. And there's another video I saw on YouTube that was really cool. It was some kind of an illusion, shadows trick or something. That's a girl trying to do this similar things. But anyways, I don't want to put too many videos link for you to go that's irrelevant. Just that's it. All right. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.